Now, let us see a small introduction to light. One of the most familiar and important forms of energy is light. Okay, we need light to see the world around us. It makes things visible to us, though it is invisible. Nothing is visible to humans when light is totally absent. Now we can define light as like this. Okay, light is an invisible form of energy. Light is an invisible form of energy that causes sensation of vision. That causes sensation of vision and helps us to see the objects. Okay, for any object to be visible, light from a source, suppose assume that this is a source of light. Now this is a object. Now in order to see or in order to observe this object, light from the source has to fall on this object and bounces back from its surface and then enter into our eye. Then only this object will be visible for the eye. Okay, now light is an electromagnetic radiation. Light is a electromagnetic radiation and it can travel through vacuum also. It can travel through vacuum. Now let us discuss about source of light. Source of light. Now, what actually the meaning of this source? Source of light. Nothing but an object that can give light is called source of light. Okay, an object that can give light is called source of light. And there are two kinds of sources of light. Two kinds of sources of light are there. What are they means? First one, natural sources of light, and the second one, artificial sources of light. Artificial sources of light. Okay, now source of light, nothing but an object that can give light is called source of light. And there are two kinds of sources of light. One is natural sources of light and the second one is artificial sources of light. Now we will discuss about first one, natural sources of light. Okay, natural sources of light. Now the sun is the most important source of light. natural source of light. The sun is the most important and abundant source of light is the sun. Okay. Now, the sun is a natural source of light, and even some stars also natural sources of light, and they are more brilliant than the sun, but only twinkle because of they are far away from us. Okay. Now, some other examples of natural sources of light are glowworms, fireflies, jellyfish, bobtail, squids, and some bacteria and some type of different aquatic animals like algae and fungi. All these comes under natural sources of light. They produces light. Okay. Now we'll think about second one, artificial sources of light. Now if you think about artificial sources of light, all the man-made sources of light are called artificial sources of light. Man-made sources of light means what? Wax candle means examples. Wax candle. Okay. Next, eye lamp. Torch light also comes under artificial source of light. Then after, electric bulb, etc. These are all comes under artificial sources of light. Okay. Now after knowing natural sources of light and artificial sources of light, now let us discuss a point source of light and extended source of light. Means these two kinds are depending upon their size and shape of the sources of light. Point source of light and extended source of light. Now what this point source of light means, that this is a source of light which is of the size of a pinhead. A pinhead is called point source of light. A source of light which is of the size of pinhead is called a point source of light. And example for this point source of light is a pinhole camera acts as a point source of light. Pinhole camera will act as a point source of light. Okay. Now extended source of light means nothing but any source of light which is bigger than point source is called extended source of light. Okay. Now for example for this is any kind of a bulb, a tube light, a burning candle, etc. These are comes under extended source of light. Now let us discuss about optical medium. What it is? Optical medium. Optical medium. Now We'll see the definition of optical medium. Any material or non-material, any material or non-material through which light energy passes, through which light energy passes completely or partially is called optical medium. Is called optical medium. Now we'll see the definition once again. Any material or non-material through which light energy passes completely or partially is called optical medium. Example for optical medium is vacuum, air, water, glass, a pure alcohol, diamond, distilled water, fog, mist, clouds, smoke, muddy water, tissue paper, oiled paper, butter paper, etc. These are all comes under optical medium. Now optical medium is again classified into two categories. Optical medium classified into two categories. One is homogeneous medium, and the second one is heterogeneous medium. Homogeneous and heterogeneous medium. Now what actually this homogeneous, what actually heterogeneous medium means, now we'll see. Now homogeneous medium, nothing but an optical medium which has a uniform composition, throughout is called homogeneous medium. Now, for example, homogeneous medium examples are vacuum, diamond, distilled water, pure alcohol. These are all the examples for homogeneous medium in which they have uniform composition throughout. Now heterogeneous, and this is an optical medium which has a different composition, at different points is called heterogeneous medium. Example: air, muddy water, fog, mist, clouds, smoke, etc. Now let us discuss about propagation of light. Propagation of light. Now we have already seen that light is a form of energy. Light is a form of energy which causes sensation of vision. Now this light can either travels from its source, either travels from its source, or is reflected from a non-luminous body, okay. And this light, unlike a sound, it does not need any material medium to travel, and it can also travel through the vacuum. It will travel through vacuum also. And that speed of light is around 3 lakhs kilometer per second, or else we can write it as 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. This is the velocity of light, which is denoted by C in vacuum is 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. The sun, which is about 150 million kilometers from the earth, also reach so even at this great speed also, light takes a little more than 8 minutes to reach the surface of the earth. Light takes how much time? 8 minutes to reach the earth surface from the sun, even though which is about 150 million kilometers distance. Okay, now this propagation of light takes place in 3 ways. Now let us discuss about transmission of light. Transmission of light. What does it mean by transmission of light? Nothing but passing of light through a medium. Passing of light through a medium is called transmission of light. And this transmission can take place, means passing of light can take place through the solids, liquids and gases. And light does not pass through all objects completely or at the same speed. What does it mean to say is, light will pass through the objects like solids, liquids and gases, but it does not pass through all these media like solid, liquids and gases. Do not pass through them completely or at the same speed. Light will have different speeds in different media. Some objects allow light to pass through them to pass through them completely, or some allow light to pass through them partially, and some other objects do not allow light to pass through them at all. And based on this, the ability of light to pass through the different objects, different materials are categorized into three main categories. Three main categories means some objects allow light to pass through them completely, or some objects allow light to pass them partially, and some other objects they do not allow light to pass through them at all. Based on this passage of light through the different media or materials, then that materials are categorized into three main categories. What are that three main categories? Now we'll see one by one. What are the three main categories means? First one, transparent materials. First one, transparent materials. Second one, translucent materials. And the third one, opaque materials. Okay, transparent materials, translucent materials, and opaque materials. Now we'll discuss this one by one in detail. Now first one, transparent materials. Okay, what does it mean by transparent materials? Means the name itself indicates that the materials that allow light to pass through them completely. Materials that allow light to pass through them completely are known as transparent materials. Example, clear glass, clear water, air, cellophane paper, precious gems like sapphire, emerald, ruby, like that. Next, vacuum, alcohol, benzene, etc. Now these are all the examples for transparent materials, and there are some advantages of transparent material. Uses of transparent materials. First one, glass is used in living rooms like lives due to transparency in our daily life. Next, second one, and glass is also used in making utensils, show pieces, window panes, and doors. Now glass is also used in making spectacles, cameras, microscopes, telescopes, as lens. These are all the different types of advantages of glass, which is a transparent material and which allow light completely. Now let us discuss about translucent materials. Translucent materials. Definition: the materials that transmit light partially. The materials that transmit light partially through them are known as translucent materials. Materials that transmit light partially through them are called translucent materials, and the light given out by translucent materials appears to be diffused. And examples for translucent materials are ground glass, thin nylon fabric, butter paper, oiled paper, tissue paper. These are all comes under translucent materials, and when light passes through these kind of materials, light appears to be diffused, nothing but transmit light partially through them. Okay, now suppose if objects are viewed through these translucent materials, then they appears hazy. అంటే ఈ మెటీరియల్ నుంచి ఏదైనా ఆబ్జెక్ట్ని చూస్తే కొద్దిగా మబ్బుగా కనిపిస్తాయి, దాన్ని హేజీ అని అంటాం. ఓకే, నౌ there are some advantages of these translucent materials. What they are means, this ground glass is used for making window panes of bathrooms, window panes of washrooms or bathrooms. Partition in clinics, or offices, or in optical instruments, and these glass equipments of chemical laboratories uses translucent materials. Okay, now third category is opaque materials. Now the definition for opaque materials means is materials that do not transmit light through them at all. Materials that do not transmit light through them at all are known as opaque materials. Okay, ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ అంటే వాటి నుంచి లైట్ని అసలే పోనివ్వకపోతే, పాస్ కానివ్వకపోతే దాన్ని ఒపేక్ మెటీరియల్ అని అంటాం. ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్: వుడ్, థిక్ క్లాత్, థిక్ పేపర్, metals, leather, some plastics, bricks, stones. All these are comes under opaque materials and which do not transmit light through them at all. Okay, now light falling on this opaque material is either scattered or observed. That's why they do not pass light through them. Okay, scattered or observed. Okay, observed. Now opaque objects also cast shadows. Also cast shadows when kept in the path of light. And if it comes under uses, they are used to make things where we do not want to see through them. To see through them. These are the three different kinds of materials through which a light can transmit. Means based on the ability of light to pass through them, it are classified into three categories. One is transparent materials, second one translucent materials, and third one opaque materials. Okay, now let us discuss about luminous objects and non-luminous objects. Luminous objects and non-luminous objects. Okay, first one we'll see about luminous objects. Objects that are capable of giving light, that are capable of giving out of light by themselves are called luminous objects. Okay, these are the sources of light and they comes under luminous objects because they are capable of giving out of light by themselves, are called luminous objects. And these luminous objects have their own source of energy. They have their own source of energy, and these can be natural, means luminous objects can be natural or artificial. Now we will see the examples for natural luminous objects. Natural luminous objects are sun, glowworms, fireflies, sea pansies, jellyfish, bobtail, squids, algae, fungi, and some other bacteria. All these are comes under natural luminous objects, means they give out of light by themselves. Okay, next artificial luminous objects. Examples are wax candle, oil lamp, torch light, electric bulb, etc. Okay, this is about luminous objects. So luminous objects are capable of giving out light on their own and they have own source of energy, and they are of two types, natural or artificial. And we got the examples for natural luminous objects and examples for artificial non-luminous objects. Okay, now let us discuss about non-luminous objects. Non-luminous objects. Okay, objects that do not emit, objects that do not emit light of their own. Objects that do not emit light of their own are called non-luminous objects, and non-luminous objects become visible when they reflect some of the light, when they reflect some of the light that falls on them, okay, and that eyes which is reflected from the object will enter into the human eye, and we can see or able to visible that particular object. Okay, but it do not emit light of their own. Most of these objects we see around us are non-luminous object. They just reflect the light from the sun or from artificial sources. Now examples for non-luminous objects are furniture, stone, books, etc. Okay, now moon, which appears as bright object in the night sky, is a non-luminous object. The moon receives the light from the sun and reflects it as moonlight. This moonlight reaches to the earth and enabling us to see the moon. Now we will see about bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. Some animals and microorganisms too are capable of emitting light. Animals and organisms, microorganisms, are capable of emitting light from their body. This natural emission of light by living bodies is called bioluminescence. Okay, examples: fireflies, sea pansies, glowworms, jellyfish, bobtail squids, certain bacteria, algae, and fungi. These are all the examples for bioluminescence. Okay, now these organisms have the ability to convert chemical energy into light energy, by chemical process that takes place in their bodies. The process gives off very little heat, so the emitted light is also called cold light.